Hello, basement programmers. Yeah, it's been a while since my last video, but here we are. Do you have some web apps that might have security holes allowing them to become victims to SQL injection attacks, other things of that nature? Okay, don't answer that. Watch my next video and learn how Amazon Web Application Firewall can help block attacks before they even get to your app. Okay, so here you are. You've developed and published your new web application out to the world, and you're really happy with it. Or, maybe this application's been running in production for some time already. And then it starts happening. People are starting to breach your application in ways that you really never expect. Maybe the developers are all working on other projects. Or maybe after some time, they're no longer with the company. For whatever reason, you can't necessarily allocate the development resources to fix the issues right away. And it's entirely possible you don't know all the issues that need to be fixed anyway. Either way, even if you could, development takes time. However, people are exploiting your application right now, and that needs to be fixed right away. Now, I'm going to use the OWAS Juice Shop application here as a demo. It's designed to be insecure as a training tool, and it showcases some of the issues that you may find in some of your existing applications. It can help you to improve your security by showing you how to fix certain things. I'm also going to use the AWS Web Application Firewall to help fix some of these attacks, or to help prevent some of these attacks. Before I get started, I'm always going to lean towards the idea of fixing the applications correctly, and that means fixing the code behind them. Implementing a web application firewall, or WAF, while a good practice and part of a comprehensive multi-layer security plan, is not a replacement for good programming practices. You should always do things like sanitizing your input. A WAF gives you that extra layer of security, but it's not infallible. What we're trying to do here with a WAF is block the problematic inputs from getting to your application in the first place. But again, you should always be able to handle those correctly and without exposing data. Second, in a minute, I'm going to walk you through how to attack the website to gain access to some data. This is my own copy of the website running my own AWS account. Please don't use this video as a guide for hacking. I'm really not that good, and that's not the point. Unless you have permission to do a penetration test against a website, it's the wrong thing to do, and it can land you into a lot of legal issues. Third, I'm going to show you how to use AWS WAF to help fix some of these issues. That said, it's not going to be a comprehensive guide. Finding all the issues in your site and patching them takes work and requires a lot of iterations. Now, if you need help with this or any other AWS challenges, hit up my good friends at Kayland. They can help you address these concerns as well as anything else you have inside of AWS. Just a note here, Kayland has not sponsored this video in any way. I just believe in them. All right, let's get to it. Okay, so here I am, landed at the website, and I'm going to have a look around. I can click around and I can see, okay, here's some details about different products. It's Juice Shop, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look at the account and login page. Now, I'm going to investigate. I might go in here and say, look at the web developer tools. And, I might know one. Blah. And obviously I'm not expecting this to work, but I can hit that and I can see, oh, well, I got a 401 error, which is obviously telling me, got some details here. I can see the request. Okay, the request seems to be passing through, what I put directly in that form. And my response, invalid password, normal functionality. So what I might want to do is try something a little bit more risky. I'm going to put a single quote. Now, in a lot of databases, a single quote ends the string that you are actually passing in. So if I hit login, okay, now I can see I've got a 500 error. Now 500 is an internal server error. That's not good. If I look here, I can see, well, the request, I've passed through a single quote again, exactly what was in the email box, and the password. But if I look at the response, this starts getting interesting, okay? Because what I've done, what I can see here is this SQLite error. That means we've got two problems right away that we've identified. One, we're passing unfiltered or unsanitized input directly from that web form through to our services and hitting our database. And two, we're allowing the internal database error to be passed directly up to our web form. So it starts giving us some information here. I can look and I can see, well, unauthorized tokens. I can see the error. I can see it is in fact an SQLite error. So step number one, I've kind of validated that I suspect that if the login page is behaving this way, there's probably other functionality in this website that might expose or be exposed to things like SQL injection attacks. Okay, so I jumped back to the main screen. I've cleared things out so it's a little bit easier to follow. But next thing I want to do is I'm going to go here to the search and I'm going to type a search string. Say Apple. I know Apple's going to return something because I can see right there is, apple juice, apple promise. I don't know what that is. Well, let me turn back on the web developer tools and go for a search. For some reason it didn't. We've reload the page there with the search string of Apple. Now I can look through. I'm going to look through the the network traffic here. And scroll down. I found here a 200 response that says search Q equals, which looks an awful lot like the search result here. And so I can start looking through the details. And I can find, well, here is a header that shows me where it's actually going to get the data. And get a copy of that. Copy. Now I've hit that, and right away I've gotten back a whole selection of values from the database. So I've got no filtering here that is showing me that's preventing me from getting direct query access to this database that's available on the form. So now I've got an area where I can start querying the database. I know that the services are vulnerable to SQL injection attack. And I know that I've got some basic information surrounding the user's data for the database. So if I come back here again and go to the login, and remember if I did a query, it looks like I got that 500 error. You can see here select star from users. Okay, and I know that there's a table called users. I know that there's a column called email and a column called password. So I could start doing something like directly in this interface. Let's see. Obviously, this is querying some form of a product table. What I could do is union select, okay, and let's see, I know this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fields that are coming back as far as that data set. So username, password, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. What happens there? Oh, okay. SQLite area near the union. Okay. I know that I'm passing this query directly through to the database, and I'm getting an error here. Now I'm not a SQL expert, but I think that's the right syntax. So what's quite possible is that I need to kind of modify this to complete what the query is going to be. My error has changed a little bit. You know what? I might want to shut off the oh, there we go. A little bit of playing around with this query. Now I've got a successful result that's come through. And I've got all this data here from the product. I really don't want that. So, nothing. Now I'm starting to hit data from the user from the user table. Let's see, what was it? Select star from users. From users, where email. Oh, okay, I got the name, column name wrong. Okay, now I've got access to the users table. Thankfully, so if you look at my query, email and password, email, password. So thankfully the passwords are encrypted, so I can't just directly use those. Now I've got lists of emails from users that have valid valid accounts in this website. Right here, I can see one with looks awful lot like an admin email account. Well, let's see what happens if I start playing around with this and inject a SQL, a SQL injection attack here again. So I go Juice Shop. That's the email address. If I know, okay, it's going to be select star from users where email equals that. Now we've got a big problem. Okay, because what I've done is I've gone in with an email address that really looks like it's an admin type. Admin at juice.sh.op. And I've gone directly in by injecting by having a valid email address that I've gained by going through and doing some SQL injection and some reconnaissance, and simply eliminating the password part of that login. So, well, let's see here. Order history. I can start seeing an order history from what this user's done. Payment options. Okay, I can start deleting payment options. I can start creating orders. You can see where a little bit of SQL injection into a very insecure website has led to some problems. Now, you might be thinking, oh yeah, but nobody would ever do this. The reality is that these problems do exist. I've seen interfaces where search parameters are just passed directly through. All right, so we've highlighted some of the problems. Let's get to solving them. So here we are back at the Juice Shop website. And what I want to do is start walking through how we might try to fix some of these vulnerabilities by blocking problems with the query parameters and the interactions before they actually get to our web application. All right, so if you remember from the previous segment of the video, we've got this web page here that we found doing some investigation that allowed us to actually search through the product catalog. And by doing something like equals Apple, we got a list of products that contain the word Apple. However, what we found was that we could subject this to a SQL injection attack by passing in, by completing the query here, passing in a union statement, and then truncating the rest of the SQL, we were able to actually find a list of the users in the system. Once again, at least we know that the passwords are okay, but we were able to use things like this admin login to actually gain access to our application. So we want to be able to stop this. And since we can't fix the source code yet, please actually fix the source code in the long term. But we want to look at using the WAF, the web application firewall, in order to block some of these things. All right, so I'm going to jump back into my AWS account, and I've selected AWS WAF. Now, you can probably tell by the URL here, juiceshop-lb. I'm using an application load balancer as the front end of my application, which is something you should always do. So what I can do, and it's going to become important here, I'm going to create a new web ACL, and that's the set of rules that are going to block access based on what's being passed to my application. Now, ACLs can either be attached to CloudFront distributions. So if you had a website that was being presented out through CloudFront, globally, you could select this option, or regional resources. Now, in this case, I'm using the application load balancer. You can also attach it to API gateways, REST APIs, app runner services, etc. Anywhere you need to protect your application. Okay. Because I'm using a regional resource, obviously I have to choose a region, and my website's running in US East, North Virginia. JS.ACL. Okay, I've got to give the ACL a name. So I'm just going to call it JS for Juice Shop-ACL. Protection, let's give it a description, protect my website. You automatically get a CloudWatch metric name, and this is where data is going to be pushed into CloudWatch. So I'm just going to leave that. Associated AWS resources. Okay, so here I'm going to click Add a Resource, and I've got all the different resources that I can connect. I'm going to choose Application Load Balancer. And Juice Shop LB is just the load balancer that I was using to act as the entry point to my application. I already created that in advance. There's plenty of guides out there on the internet to talk about how to set up a load balancer, so I didn't want to walk through that for this video. Click Add. Next, rules. I'm going to leave the rules blank for the moment because I'm going to come back to that afterwards. Web ACL capacity units used by this rule. Okay, because I've got no rules, it's 0 of 5,000. Default Web ACL action for requests that don't match any rules. So if the request that comes through doesn't match any of my rules, do I want it to allow or do I want it to block? And in this case, I'm going to say allow because I'm going to define rules that block activity, that block connections to my website. Next, set rule priority. I don't have any rules, so I can't set any priority. I'll hit next. Configure metrics. I'm going to leave disable sampled requests. There. And then I get my summary screen. Okay, and there. And I'm going to click Create Web ACL. Okay, so my web ACL was created here. And go in. I've got a whole bunch of different options here. The one that I'm concerned with is going to be rules. So rules are going to set up, I can set up my custom set of rules. There are some managed rules, and these are rules that are automatically provided. But I'm just going to go in and say add my own rule in rule group. So I'm going to use this rule builder. I can block based on IP. So if I've got nefarious IP addresses, I can block those. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to say, okay, rule name. Let's look back here. So my attack was based on passing in this idea of a union select. So a union is probably something I never want to be passed through on a query string to my application. That's just going to be bad news, especially if it's coming from the website. So what I'm going to do is say block unions. Let's say it's a regular rule. If a request matches the statement, so I'm going to inspect single query parameter. The parameter is Q. Because if we look back here, my parameter that was passed through is Q. Match type, I'm going to say if it contains the string union equal union, so I'm going to put union. Now the next thing is I could have somebody can pass through the text union. It could be uppercase, it could be lowercase, it could be all weird mixed cases trying to get around my sort of rules. So what I can do is I can use this text transformation. And I'm going to say I'm going to transform it to lowercase. So this comes in this case it's uppercase. Text transformation is going to transition it to lowercase union, and then see if we can match query parameter. And then I can say, and then the action we're going to take is block. Okay, so now what I have is I have a rule set. Now capacity, that's how much of the 5,000 units that were set up is going to be used. You can see here, 30 of 5,000. And then I'm going to hit save. Okay, so now I've got that rule set up. Now rules can sometimes take a minute or two to fully propagate. I was having some issues when I was experimenting with this before. I'd set up a rule and I'd go and I'd hit refresh immediately and nothing would happen. So I definitely want to have a look, give this a chance. Now I want to switch over to my display here where I've got this and I've successfully passed through this SQL injection query. And let's try hitting refresh. Okay. You can see here now this query, which worked perfectly fine before and gave me access to everything in the database, well, now I get a 403 forbidden. Okay, so union, and let's see if I try some different things here, different types of queries. So by setting up the block rule in my WAF, I'm able to now protect against queries coming through. Now, one thing to keep in mind is, as you saw by when I went in and started editing these rules or creating these rules, I had to know, for example, the query parameter and some text that would be invalid being passed through. So I do need to have some application knowledge. I do need to understand how the application is working before I create these rules. Now, one thing you might want to consider here is I've blocked based on a single query parameter, being Q. I can always go in and say all query parameters. So if I would never want any possibility of something coming through that says union, I could do that. And you can see here, the rule is still blocking access. Okay, so that is going to take care of the search parameters going through. And let's see what else we can use the WAF to help protect against. Okay, so in the last segment, what we did was we implemented functionality in the web application firewall to protect the search functionality and block that from being subjected to some SQL injection attacks. We still have a problem with the login for the application. So if we remember, what we did here was we had a compromised email address that was used as an ID, and we added in the closing paren and then the 2 hyphens, which then makes everything remaining a comment. And so we were able to do that and then pass in a bad password, la. As you can see, I don't know what the password is, but it doesn't really matter because I can just say log in. And if you remember, I then had access into the user account, and in this case, the admin section of the of the website. So I still want to try to protect that, and the efforts that we made to block the queries into the services didn't help. All right, so what we're going to do is going to go back and try to make a new rule in the WAF. But again, first we have to do a little bit of reconnaissance to try to figure out what's going on here. So I'm going to open up the web tools again. And this is going to let me monitor the traffic coming in. And I'm going to go account, login, put in my my compromised username and my fake password. My one password keeps getting in the way here. Okay, login. Okay, so I got a successful login, but let's see here. I've got the login post command. So this is where the form is actually sending the login command to the back end. I can look and see the headers. Okay, nothing jumps out at me here in the headers. Cookies, requests. Okay, so I can see here the request is going through, and the body of the request contains contains some JSON that has the data in it. So the compromised email address and my dodgy password here. Okay, so this gives me the information I need to go back and start looking at some rules to implement. Okay, so I'm going to go back again to the WAF and shield configuration. Let's say I'm going to add a rule, add my own rules and groups. Once again, I'm going to say builder. The name, I'll put in protect log. Again, I'm going to go with a regular rule. if a request matches a statement. Now, what do I want to inspect? I'll look here, I'm going to look at the body. So you can see here under this request components, so we know it's the body of the request, and I'm going to look at the body. Content type, so it's a JSON payload. Scope, I'm just going to say all keys, all as opposed to keys and values. I'm going to do a match because I have some text I want to match. Match type contains, and the string I want to match in this case is 2 hyphens, okay, because that's what allows me to break the request off and say, stop here, and really just match the username. I don't need a text transformation because it's hyphened. And oversize handling, I'm just going to say treat that as a no match, and then say block. Add a rule, and then I'm going to say save. So I've got to save the rule set. I have on more than one occasion gone to test and not hit that final save, and then I wonder why my rule isn't working. So there we go. So we've got block union, which is the queries, and now protect login. Now if I go back to the OWAS Juice Shop, and we're going to try to do a login. So I'm going to go account, log out, log in. I'm just going to put the bad email address there. Blah. Okay, now, not the best user experience, because what I've gotten back is some HTML that says forbidden because I've blocked it. So I might want to consider improving the website design a little bit, but with that simple rule put in place, I've now blocked it so that nobody can come in and pass in an email address formatted like that and get access into my account. It's a very important way to protect, very important to protect your user accounts that way. Obviously, we want to actually fix this in the background, and we want to look at, when the data comes into the back end, also thinking about sanitizing and stripping out things. We should probably have a regex that validates the email address, doesn't contain invalid characters like this. But once again, we've blocked this at the web application firewall, and it's going to buy us some time until we can actually fix the website permanently. So in summary, we're able to use Amazon's AWS WAF to help protect our website. Once again, that website was the OWAS Juice Shop. It's an open source project, and it's designed to showcase a very insecure website, really kind of highlight programming errors that can lead to things like SQL injection being successful. So absolutely something you can use to test your knowledge and learn about attacks. We were able to use WAF to block 2 such attacks, one of it being SQL injection based on our services that we use to search, and the other being SQL injection used to bypass login security. Certainly, there are a lot more aspects that can be corrected using AWS WAF. For example, you can use rate limiting rules. You can use things like blocking based on IP reputation, or if you have a known set of IP addresses that are potentially attacking your website, maybe trying to do a DOS attack, you could use WAF to block that. Now, as I've mentioned a couple times in this session, please don't consider using the WAF as a replacement for fixing your applications. WAF can be part of a layered security, but it shouldn't be considered to be everything. So certainly you should look to actually doing improvements to the website and getting those things resolved. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments. And we'll see you next time. Complete source code for all of my videos can be found on GitHub. You can find me there at github.com/basementprogrammer. Thanks for watching my video. If you found this video helpful, please hit the subscribe button. It helps you to know when I have new content out, and it helps me to know I'm creating useful content for you. You can always find me at basementprogrammer.com, on Twitter, and the Basement Programmer podcast. Details listed here. If you have any comments on this video, or you just want to get in touch, you can always email me. The address is tom@basementprogrammer.com. And I'll see you next time.